Good evening, folks. As you see, it is me. I am running solo tonight, but that's okay, because I got virtual Travis that's going to join us in a second here, while real life Travis is on mission, and we will do war. We are resilient. With Travis doing his war. We are resilient tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So, without further ado, we will start the program, and if you need me to stop at any point and go over anything that you're seeing in the presentation this evening, I will do so. So here is Travis's part 4 in the Justice for JJ, the Vermont veteran that is being railroaded. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. This is part 4 of the story about J.J. Millett, and we have had his sister, his cousin, his aunt on, and now one of his friends, Chad Abbott, comes to Oscar Mike Radio to talk about this. Chad, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So I've learned a whole lot about JJ, his family, and the situation in general, where he was in a mental state and, asked for help, turned himself into the Vermont State Police, didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to hurt himself, got back into VA care, and then got, charged with domestic terrorism, which I understand, looking at the Vermont law, carries a very severe penalty. And so I'm just grateful to speak with you now as we try to learn more about JJ. What is your relationship with JJ? And let's start there.
I'm JJ's friend, and he's my friend. And I've served with JJ since probably 2009 in the Vermont Army Guard. We went over to Afghanistan together. We didn't hang out a lot, but once in a while we'd get together outside of the guards. We had a lot of mutual friends anyway, so.
Now, so you didn't live in the same town as JJ. You served in the Guard as a platoon mate with JJ.
Correct.
What was that time like with him being in the Guard, going over Afghanistan and serving with him, Chad?
Well, of course, we were deploying, so we were pretty busy during training. But even when we were back at home stationed, we got along great. JJ always was a kind-hearted and helpful guy. Never really came across as an angry person or violent in any type of way. And then, of course, we started training in 2009, and then we ended up in Afghanistan by 2010.
You served with him, and did you all experience combat, as it were?
Yeah, we did a lot of route reconnaissance and started a lot of making construction of some JCOPs around Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. And there was times that we would, get ambushed or get rocketed or whatever, even on Bagram. And we were there also when they did I think it was 15 Taliban came in with suicide vest and tried to kill as many people as they could, and our unit was a big part of deterring that.
So educate me here, because like in other states, the National Guard unit is kind of regional to that. Like in Massachusetts, there's a couple of Guard units close to me, and they're all pretty much soldiers or from the same geographical area. But does that apply to Vermont being smaller? Does it draw from the entire state, or is there certain parts of the state where the National Guard units are pulled from?
So different units are in different parts of the state. Like
Yeah.
some engineer units would be, say, in Colchester, and then some may be in Bennington, and then the cavalry unit might be one in Newport, and then one in, you know, some other part of the state. So depending on what your MOS was, might determine, or what you pick to do might determine where you're going to drill out of. So no matter where you are.
Okay. So
In the state. And we even have like Massachusetts and New York and other people that serve in the Vermont Guard.
really?
Yep.
How's that work?
I guess as long as you are willing to drive to go to drill or whatever, they'll let you join in any state that you want.
Oh, okay. That's I learn something new every day, Chad. So thanks for educating me. And just be so clear, what was your unit going over in the Vermont National Guard?
We were A Troop, first of the 172nd Cavalry, 86 Infantry Brigade Combat Team. And when we first got to Afghanistan, we fell under the 82nd Airborne because they were in charge of that part of Afghanistan at the time. And probably a couple months, we did, left seat, right seat with them. And then the 101st Airborne came over and took over our area. So then we were attached to them. But
Serve with JJ, and you get to know somebody very, very well. And you let off saying that, hey, during my service with JJ, he was solid, dependable, not really prone to explosive emotions. How is that like for you? Because when I didn't serve in combat, but when I was around Marines who kept a calm, even keel when stuff was going full speed or going wrong, I remembered those Marines more than others. Was that the same way with JJ, or what was it like?
yeah, I'd say that was JJ. He was always pretty even and, kind of soft spoken. Never really got too wild. I mean, he'd joke around and wrestle and whatever else like we do, but
Sure.
But never.
That's a big thing right there that, I've always loved about, some things that are, they're out there and they're shown and they're shared. When you watch some veteran documentaries, for resisting, like Restrepo, they actually show like the grab assets, that's played in like the friendly fighting and like the way that you entertain yourselves when you're together with people for, 12 to 18 months in a remote location, and you're just enduring the suck together, the things you do to pass time, and I like hearing that stuff, from you guys.
Never got super angry or explosive especially over small stuff or anything like that.
You served in Afghanistan and come back home. I'm curious for you, what was your coming home experience like, Chad?
For me, I would say the first 6 months, you dream about home so much over there and, seeing your kids and family and everything. I'd say the first 6 months, you don't even really feel like you're home. You feel like it's a dream, really. And you're just like, you almost want to like touch your kid's face or whatever and be like, are you real? Are you really here? Am I like really back? Kind of a thing. And I think that takes a toll on the families and the spouses too, because you're home, but you're not really home yet.
So you're physically home, but your mind and spirit hasn't caught up to that.
Correct.
Okay.
And then you're also dealing with the fact that you just went from doing something so important, and just trying to survive every day, and you got purpose and everything, and then you come home and it's like everything's calm. And
what he's describing is imposter syndrome. That can happen when you come back home and you don't know what your task or mission is, and you kind of feel lost in this world after being in that world. And also you go from having somebody available to you 24/7, 365 to bounce ideas off of, to talk about things that are, getting you down, things that you're happy about, to then not having those people around. And that camaraderie loss is a big thing for a lot of veterans.
then you're trying to get back to the old, 9 to 5, whatever you your job was and everything. And it just seems kind of mundane and not, you kind of feel like you don't really have a purpose anymore, but yet you got all this anger and emotions stirring inside of you. It's really a tough time, to be honest.
Now, after the Guard, did you all stay in touch? I know a lot of times talking to a lot of Guard people, they came back and, you know, like some of my buddies in Louisiana, different parts of the state, they kind of went their own way and might get together for an LSU game or something like that. But, you know, they're away. But the Mass National Guard, a lot of those guys, they're primarily men, you know, go to Pats games together, hang together. You know, what was it like for you all once you all, you know, got back and were truly home?
I think for me, I really tried to do that a lot. Like, just, you know, hang with the guys when I could, if they had time, and try to get together. And we still even try to go to breakfast maybe once a month if we can with some of the guys. But I know there's also guys out there that didn't do that. And really, those are the ones I'd say that have the most trouble. And then sometimes there's even cliques inside of that, right? You might have 3 or 4 guys over here that hang out with each other and go do stuff together, that were served together. But then you might have 6 other guys over here that don't hang out with those 4 guys, you know, so.
That happens in any unit, right? I mean, it's just subcultures within subcultures. So you're going along. I mean, when was the last time that you and JJ connected before this whole thing happened in February?
When did I see him? Oh, I'd say it was in September, maybe.
Yeah.
And he was going to school. I remember right. It might even been earlier than that, but he was going to school. He was going to college courses. And I was actually meeting with a young lady up there that had been to active duty before, but she was interested in joining the Guard. And I happened to know the recruiter at the time that I was trying to hook her up to talk to so she could get in the Guard from active duty. And he just happened to be there taking classes at Community College Vermont there in Newport. And I ran into him. Of course, I gave him a hug and asked him how he was doing. And he seemed to be in good spirits. He seemed like he was really enjoying going to college and things were doing good for him. And
how big of a surprise was it when you heard about this situation going down with this whole thing with him being, you know, arrested for domestic terrorism?
It was a huge surprise for me. But in a way, even my own self, though, like this date and time, like with all the stuff going on between, you know, the stuff we were finding out about the politicians and the kids, you know, being molested and different things, all this kind of stuff just like kept adding up. Stuff was happening left and right. And it was like, even my own self was getting this like anxiety feeling like, you know, hey, there's a lot going on. Is there really all these refugees and illegals coming in? Is there really terrorist cells here? You know, we spent half our lives overseas trying to prevent this. And now we're back here and all this stuff is happening and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. Like even my own personal self was feeling that. So I could see how he might be just like spinning in his mind. Like, hey, I'm sitting on my hands here. Something needs to be done. Our country's being lost. I could see how he would be in a rough spot where he might need to call the veteran crisis line and say, hey, you know, I'm not doing well. My mind is spinning. You know, even if he did call anonymously, because we all have, especially up here, I don't know about you guys, but we all have that thing like, we don't want to lose our guns. We don't want to not be able to go hunting and fishing. That's how we deal with everything mentally as it is now.
Right.
Take away our guns. We can't go fishing. Now we're even more caught up in our heads. So a lot of people go on anonymous to those crisis lines because they are so worried about losing their guns and stuff like that. So I assume that's what he did. And then of course, instead of sending over the psychologists and stuff or bringing him down to the VA, they didn't even have the decency to go get him as the police officers. They made him go to them. I mean, that's irresponsible anyway, because if he really was psychotic, what could he have done between going from where he was at his house to all the way to the police barracks? I mean, that's just wrong in itself. But, you know, in my mind too, you charge the guy with domestic terrorism. One, just the slander of it, just the heartbreak of being called that after serving overseas for this country is I can't think of being called anything worse, really. And then on top of that, to give him the domestic charge instead of just, even if he did.
And that's the biggest part, is going from serving your nation to being called the enemy of this nation that you loved and that you've given so much for. It's just absolutely tragic. And that's, you know, why this case is so meaningful to so many people. And we just want to keep sharing the word. So if you go to healthyshaven.org, Justice for Vets VT, /Justice for Vets VT, you can see the first 3 parts of the series. And then I'll add the 4th one after this episode tonight, please.
Threaten the police officers when he got there, or whoever. Charge him with threatening. Charge him for what he actually did. Don't charge him with this big, huge crime that gives him 25 years. You know, threatening probably would have been, what, a year or 2? I don't know what it would have come with. But you're going to give him a 25-year sentence for someone for just threatening on a veteran crisis line, which they know how us veterans talk. We get upset. We're like, blah, 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 blah. You know, why not just call it for what it was and get him the VA help? Didn't need to involve the police as maybe for a ride down to the VA. But other than that, we didn't need to have charges, and especially not extreme charges. And then I didn't know it at the time, but come to find out, they had changed his meds like a week or 2 ago, and he was already complaining about the different side effects they were giving him.
Well,
so I'm sure that played its role.
His Aunt Emily, cousin Elizabeth, and sister all said he was okay until the meds were changed. And I'm trying to find out why that wasn't taken into consideration. It was just very odd to me. So you're seeing all this, and I can tell it's having a very deep ingrained effect on you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One, because he's so close to me. But 2, like we already had, like I said, some like, will they take away our guns for calling this? Now, I would never call the crisis hotline. If I would be more likely to commit suicide now without calling the crisis line. And we already have, what, a 22 a day problem with that?
It's
the numbers are between 17 and 20 a day. The 22, kind of stuck around because so many organizations have used that as their name and their monikers. But it's about 17 to 20 per day. And that is only suicides that are reported up as veterans. There's veterans that died that they don't know it was a suicide. There's veterans that die of overdose, which I believe personally is a form of suicide, because you know what you're doing, and you're taking the substance and it's killing you. And those don't count to the numbers. So the numbers are 17 to 20 right now, but it's not taking account to all the people.
Had his sister, his cousin, his aunt on, and now one of his friends, Chad Abbott, comes to Oscar Mike to talk about
the name. Well, so I'm sure that played its role.
His Aunt Emily, cousin Elizabeth, and sister all said he was okay.
Correct. And really, the law says that the governor cannot make vacancies. He can only appoint vacancies, right? So when he appointed Judge Barrett to the Supreme Court, he then made a vacancy for
it was a district attorney.
The district attorney.
County attorney.
He therefore made that opening, that vacancy. He's not allowed to do that. He could have picked any other judge and not made a vacancy. Any other attorney. And but he didn't. He picked Barrett, who then never even relinquished her thing right up until after the election, preventing us from even voting for our district attorney, which is also illegal in the state of Vermont. You can't take away people's registered voters' vote, And so in my mind, she's not even a legal district attorney. We didn't get to vote on her. They appointed her, and they shouldn't have appointed her. The way got appointed was illegal. I mean, that is one thing. I mean, I know we're going on a little bit of a tangent away from the other, but if she's going to have a vendetta and she's not even supposed to be there, then I guess something needs to be said. But
well, speaking of saying something, one thing I've noticed reading the news articles, listening to his family, is there's a lot of Vermonters up there like yourself. They're very upset. They feel like one of their own is being, treated unfairly. And it's not just family. Am I right in thinking, just from the outside looking in, like this is starting to be like the community saying, hey, this is wrong? That's the feeling I'm getting. Is that correct?
that is correct. That is correct. Yeah.
And I understand like the VFW commander has been involved, the local commander of the VFW and the Combat Vets Association is having a fundraiser for legal fees for JJ. What kind of outcome would you like for your friend at this point in time, Chad?
I would like to see all charges dropped and just continue him getting the help that he needs. But at the very bare minimum, I'd like it dropped down to maybe threatening or something along that line, something or maybe even, what's the other one? Disturbing the peace, something like that, very minimal.
Doesn't involve this firearm being.
Well, the thing is, we're in northern Vermont. I don't even know anybody that doesn't own firearms. So for them to say, oh, he has firearms, like literally everybody I know up here has firearms. Like we're all hunters or veterans or whatever. We all have guns. So that's like a sideways way to make that charge stick. Not to mention the what they're calling his manifesto.
No, I understood they had to walk that back, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard from everybody what has been said about that.
Oh,
but I know that it was something that the psychologist told him to write down his deepest, darkest thoughts, and then they tried to call it domestic terrorism because he had a manifesto, but it wasn't. It was his journal that a psychologist told him to write down.
So I go to the VA for my medical care, and even though I'm not in a mental health for my care, I've been told to write a journal. They want you to write a journal so they can talk with you about it. And I'm like, it's something that is a foundation of VA care. And then his sister and his cousin told me that it was called a manifesto on the news, and I read it in the newspaper. But then they went before Judge Tebow, I believe, and they had to strike it back and just say it was his journal. It was very, like I said, this just seems like hey, we're going to try to get this guy.
Yeah, and if you're going to strike it back to just his journal, then I guess the whole domestic terrorism charge is falling apart. It should be lowered to something else, more realistic.
It has just really, affected me in a way that I didn't even consider, Chad, that here we have one of our fellow soldiers, a fellow brother. I've never met him, I've never met you, but I'm like, hey, if we don't stand up for JJ, who's next?
Yeah.
Who's next?
Yeah.
If this can be done once, it can be done again. And am I wrong for feeling that way?
I don't think so. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I really feel like we've really lost something. And really, I think big army or big military should step in with the fact that he called the crisis line is huge. And the fact that they didn't just get him his help that he needed just causes so much damage to not have that outlet that they've just robbed, that they just took away.
Because to your point, why would you ever want to call that crisis line if you know that you could be going into jail a day later?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the situation's still in flux. I understand that it's still like the Judge Tebow has ruled the case is moving forward. I know there's work being done on JJ's behalf, but what can we do for JJ and the people in Vermont who support him?
I may not be the best person to ask about that because I kind of had to step back a little bit for a few days because I was getting very upset myself.
Okay.
And my own mental being with it all. So I had to step back with it because I suffer from PTSD and anxiety and everything myself. But the last I heard was people are to reach out to the district attorney and basically put in their disagreement with it. And I would say any support for JJ or his sister, because his sister has just been an angel through all of it, just helping him. And she's in touch with a lot of people, and she would probably be the best one to ask that stuff. But I know they did say if you have a problem, reach out to your legislators, reach out to the district attorney, and just tell them that you do not want him to face, such a strict charge, and that you don't agree with it.
Well, Chad, I just want to thank you for coming on and talking with us. This gives, people who are interested in this, people who are trying to help. I went to Texas last weekend and talked with some people, and it's like, okay, we're going to, watch the other interviews. We're going to read about this and get caught up and see if we can help. So the message is getting out there. People are understanding. They're asking the same question. Like, if we don't get behind JJ now, there's some other veteran that's going to be next, and we don't want that to happen.
Absolutely.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on and talking with me. I know that this is a difficult time, especially for people in Vermont who are watching this happen close up. But I want to thank you for sharing, because every voice counts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And on Helpless Haven / Justice for Vets VT, I do have those letters, because the fact is, this is where pressure becomes real. Not loud, not chaotic, directed, documented, persistence. Every letter is another set of eyes on the case. Every message increases the cost of ignoring it. You're not just telling JJ's story anymore. You're putting it on desks that can't look away. Like I said, on the site, helplesshaven.org, Justice for Vets VT. You go down, you'll see there's a PDF. You can download the PDF. I've got 3 choices of letters that you can send. You can send a policy and oversight focused letter. You can say a constituent advocacy letter if you live in Vermont. You can send that one up. Or if you're a veteran, like a lot of us are, you can send a veteran community voice letter. And you can send it to the VA. And after the 3 letters, you'll see on page 4, I've got the advocacy contact package, state leadership, the governor, the Vermont Attorney General, the Orleans County State Attorney. That's the one that's pushing everything forward. Federal representatives, Bernie Sanders, Peter Welch, House Representative Becca Valiant, Vermont at large. And then the final page, page 6, VA support resources, the VA White House hotline, the Veterans Crisis Escalation number, obviously the Veterans Crisis line, context reference, and like, I know what was said tonight that people will have issues calling 988, but please don't. Just because this happened doesn't mean that it's going to happen everywhere. Each state is contracted out with a different organization that runs 988 for that area. So just because this happened in Vermont doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. If you are struggling and you need help, call a behavioral helpline. Call 988, press 1 for Veterans Crisis Line. If you want to just press 988 and talk to the regular suicide, and lifeline option, you can do that as well. And these other organizations out there as well. Search in Google. There's also the VA regional offices, Vermont area, White Road Junction. We've got the phone number, the address, and the website. So this is where we got to put, action into place, and, we got to do something to be able to take care of these guys. And, if you guys are looking for something to watch after this, Oscar Mike Radio is live right now. So if you guys can go over to Travis's page, watch Oscar Mike Radio tonight, and tell him that, you're looking to help support JJ. Thank you guys for watching tonight. We'll see you tomorrow with me, Travis, for another episode of War. We Are Resilient. Thank you for watching.